Elena always said her greatest treasure wasn't her home. It was her family. After becoming a widow, her grandson Marcos became her shadow. He was the one who fixed the broken sink, the one who drove her to doctor's appointments, the one who sat with her on Sunday mornings while she told the same stories about her late husband and the little house they had built together, brick by brick. Marcos was brilliant, a successful accountant with expensive suits and a smile that radiated confidence. To Elena, he was the definition of success. The boy she had raised when his own parents couldn't. The proof that sacrifice produces reward. But behind that smile, Marcos didn't see a grandmother. He saw a balance sheet. He saw a $500,000 home, paid in full. A savings account sleeping without generating interest. An old woman who trusted him so completely that she would sign anything he put in front of her. Today, we look into a story where financial greed rotted the very heart of a family, where a document designed to protect became a weapon, where a power of attorney became an executioner's blade. But above all, a story where karma proved that no matter how much you know about the law, you can never escape your own actions. It all started with a sentence that seemed innocent. "Grandma, you're getting too old to deal with the bank. Let me handle the paperwork so you can just enjoy your garden." Elena, with tired eyes and a heart full of love, agreed. Marcos presented her with a document. Technically, it was a durable power of attorney. In the financial world, this gave Marcos total authority over Elena's assets. He could sell.
He could buy.
He could withdraw money in her name. He could remortgage her home without her ever stepping foot inside a bank. Marcos explained to the family that this was for estate protection. A smart move. A responsible grandson looking out for his grandmother's future. But the technical reality was much darker. Marcos was going through a secret financial crisis. His cryptocurrency investments had collapsed. His lifestyle of appearances, the suits, the dinners, the leased car he told everyone was his, had left him on the edge of bankruptcy. He owed money to people who don't send warning letters, the kind of people who knock on doors. He wasn't protecting Elena. He was using her as a personal ATM. For months, the fraud was invisible. Marcos used a technique called mirror accounts. He showed Elena forged bank statements where her savings appeared intact. The numbers, the logos, even the formatting looked legitimate. Elena had no reason to doubt the papers her grandson brought her every month. He had been handling her finances for 2 years. Every statement, every transaction. She never questioned a single number. But in reality, Marcos had taken out a reverse mortgage on her home. A financial product designed for elderly homeowners to access their equity. The bank lends against the value of the property, and the loan is repaid only when the homeowner dies or permanently moves out. Marcos pulled $300,000 of equity out of Elena's home, and she never knew. With that money, Marcos didn't pay his debts. He bought a high-end sports car. He paid the deposit on a luxury downtown apartment. He walked into the same restaurants where he owed thousands and ordered champagne, paying in cash this time. The emotional disaster exploded on a Tuesday morning. Elena walked out to get the mail and found an envelope with a red stamp. Notice of foreclosure. The bank was reclaiming the property for non-payment. Elena called Marcos, crying. His response was the first sign of the monster hiding behind the accountant's smile. "Grandma, it must be a mistake. Don't worry. I'll fix it. But don't tell my aunts and uncles. You'll just scare them." But fear had already moved into the house. Elena sat at her kitchen table that night, staring at the foreclosure notice, and for the first time in her life, she felt that her favorite grandson was lying straight to her face. Not with what he said, but with how quickly he said it, how rehearsed it sounded, how he didn't ask a single question about the letter. 2 weeks later, the entire family was in Elena's living room. Marcos's uncles had discovered that the grandmother's savings account was at zero. Not low, not reduced.
Zero.
They had gone to the bank themselves after Elena showed them the foreclosure letter. When Marcos arrived, he no longer wore his smile. He carried a leather briefcase and a defensive posture.
His voice changed.
The loving grandson was gone. In his place stood a man reading a legal defense. "I did what I had to do."
Marcos Chautid.
That money was being wasted sitting there. Grandma doesn't need a 4-bedroom house. I was planning to move her into a top-tier assisted living facility. Legally, I have the power. You can't do anything to me. Elena's pain in that moment wasn't about the house. It wasn't about the money. It was watching that boy she had rocked in her arms, whose diapers she had changed, talking about her as if she were a piece of old furniture standing in the way of his success. Marcos stormed out, leaving his grandmother devastated on the sofa he had already technically sold. The same sofa where he used to fall asleep as a child while she read him bedtime stories. Marcos believed his technical knowledge made him invincible. He had studied every angle. The power of attorney was legally valid. The reverse mortgage had been properly filed. The bank statements he forged were sophisticated enough to pass casual inspection. He had covered every track a routine audit would find. But karma has a way of using your own arrogance against you. The family hired a forensic investigator and a lawyer specializing in elder financial abuse. They didn't look at the recent documents. They went deep. Physical land registry records, original deeds, trust filings from decades ago. And that's where they found the crack. Years ago, when Marcos's grandfather was still alive, they had created an irrevocable trust for the house. Elena was the sole life tenant, meaning she had the right to live there until her death. But any changes to the property, any mortgage, any sale, any lien, required the signatures of 2 direct family witnesses who were not beneficiaries of the trust. Marcos had forged those signatures. He had fabricated the consent documents. He filed them with the county recorder's office, thinking no one would ever check physical paper records from 20 years ago. That wasn't just a civil error. It was documentary fraud.
It was identity theft.
It was a felony. The day the bank was supposed to take possession of the house, Marcos arrived in his sports car to oversee Elena's relocation. He had even hired a moving company. He had already picked out the facility, a clean but impersonal place where his grandmother would live out her remaining years far from the home her husband had built for her. But at the door, there was no moving truck. There were 2 police cruisers and a state prosecutor with an arrest warrant. Marcos was arrested in his own luxury car, which was immediately seized as an asset purchased with stolen funds. The sports car he had paraded through the city. The apartment deposit frozen. His accounting license suspended pending trial. Due to the cruelty of the case and elder protection laws, the judge was relentless. There was no bail. The prosecutor argued, successfully, that Marcos represented a demonstrated flight risk with access to financial instruments that could move money internationally within hours. Marcos lost his accounting license forever. The financial genius who manipulated trusts and forged signatures ended up in a cell, sharing space with the same people he had always looked down upon from his leased luxury apartment. Elena got her house back. The bank had to withdraw the foreclosure after the fraud at the origin of the loan was proven. The irrevocable trust held. The forged signatures were invalidated. The reverse mortgage was dissolved. Today, Elena is still in her garden. The roses her husband planted still bloom every spring. The pain of the betrayal is still there. Some mornings are harder than others. But peace has returned. Not because the money came back, but because the truth did. This story leaves us with a lesson that is both technical and deeply human. Power over others is a responsibility, not a privilege. And when you use your knowledge to trample the people who love you most, the universe has a particular talent for making sure your fall is exactly as long as your ambition. Before we close, how much do you think Marcos deserves what happened to him? Leave a number from 1 to 10 in the comments. 1. He got off too easy. 10. Karma was perfect if you believe that justice must always prevail. Subscribe to Karma Unleashed. Every episode, we follow the money, the lies, and the consequences that never stop arriving. Next episode, another name, another betrayal, another lesson written in the language of karma. The history of financial karma is far from over. Subscribe, and we will see you on the other side.